we're going to start by adding some of the tree structure in. I can still see some of my pencil outlines through the watercolour, so that helps me put the structure of the tree in. But trees always follow the same rule of going from thick branches, so they subdivide, and as you subdivide further and further, they get finer and finer. So they do kind of follow a structure. I'm just going to build up a small section because what I want to show you is how to add leaves and foliage using the sponge. So we'll just put sections of these in. And the more of these small sections you add, the more realistic effect you're going to get. We can make these branches look a little bit more 3D by adding some dark tones underneath, some shadow. But we're going to cover a lot of these with the sponging. Let's put a bit more in. Okay, so you keep working. Okay, if you want to use watercolour, you can do, but you can also start to mix and match the bottle paints as well. So we're going to add some leaves. We always start with the darkest green first. So in your watercolour palette, there's a British Racing Green, and we just need to get a lump of it on the end there. We're then going to dab on. Now, this is where you can control how much texture or foliage you add. So if you press quite gently, like I'm starting to do at the moment, it could be spring, because we've only got a small amount, and you could build that up. If you want more of a summer look, then obviously you're going to add a lot more colour. We want to build up some different tones as well. And you don't want to go everywhere. You want to have some spaces where you can see the sky through. Otherwise it looks very blocky and unnatural. I've just added a tiny little bit of black to get a tonal difference, and in places I'm just adding in those darker sections. That just gives you a little bit of depth, so the leaves don't look as if they're all on one level. Also, we can add a little bit of yellow to make a limey green, and if the paint's very wet, sometimes you might have to wait for that to dry before building up a lighter colour on top, but hopefully you can just see small sections of this. Again, it's a balance. You want to put a little bit of colour in each of the areas, so you should see lights and darks where you're looking. But hopefully that gives you an idea of how to build that texture up. If you want an autumnal look, then you would just use yellows and oranges. You could add in pink sponging to suggest blossom. Also, this texture works really nicely for hedgerows, or if you're working on a garden, sometimes in the distance you might just want to suggest a little bit of texture.